The decision that shaped her career took less than 10 minutes. She was sitting in a quiet conference room, 2 offers open on her laptop. One was complicated. The other was clear. The complicated one came from a younger company growing quickly in a volatile sector. The role offered ownership, uncertain income, and the possibility, not the promise, of something much larger later. The clear one came from an established firm that had existed for decades. Predictable salary, defined bonuses, clear promotion path. The numbers on the second offer were easier to understand, so she accepted it. At the time, the decision felt intelligent. She had just turned 30 and spent most of her 20s moving between companies that promised rapid growth but delivered constant uncertainty instead. Projects cancelled halfway through, leadership changes every year, budgets disappearing without explanation. It had been exhausting. Stability looked like progress. The company she joined specialized in infrastructure consulting. Their business depended on long-term contracts with governments and large institutions. Projects that lasted years and rarely changed direction suddenly. Inside the company, careers moved slowly but steadily. No dramatic rises, very few sudden falls. That rhythm suited her. She learned the systems quickly, built relationships with senior managers, became known for solving complex operational problems without creating unnecessary disruption. Her managers appreciated her calm. Clients trusted her forecasts. Within 3 years, she had been promoted twice. Her income increased exactly as predicted when she signed the offer. Every year, her financial life became easier to manage. Savings grew. Investments accumulated. She purchased a comfortable apartment and automated most of her financial planning. From the outside, her life looked organized and secure. Inside the company, she had become type of professional leadership valued most. Consistent, predictable, reliable under pressure. She noticed that the people who advanced fast inside the organization shared those same qualities. They did not create instability. They managed it. By 34, she was leading a regional operations team responsible for several large contracts. The projects were complex, but the work followed familiar patterns. Forecast costs, control risks, deliver outcomes on schedule. It was the kind of job where competence mattered more than creativity, and competence paid well. For a long time, she believed that was exactly what she wanted. Then one afternoon during a strategy call, a younger analyst asked a question that changed how she saw her own career. The analyst was reviewing long-term projections and paused over one of the charts. "Why does our growth slow down after this point?" he asked. The room went quiet for a moment before someone answered. "Because that's where we stop expanding aggressively and start protecting what we've built." Everyone seemed satisfied with that explanation. Except her. She stared at the chart longer than necessary. The company's growth curve looked smooth. Steady expansion in the early years, then a long plateau where revenue stabilized and increased slowly. The strategy was intentional. Once the company reached a certain size, leadership prioritized preservation over acceleration. Preservation protects the business, but it also changes the nature of the work inside it. She realized something she had never considered when accepting the offer years earlier. Her career had been built inside an organization designed to slow down once it succeeded. The same systems that protected the company from volatility also limited how fast it could evolve. And because her role depended on those systems, her own professional growth followed the same rhythm. Stable, gradual, controlled. There was nothing wrong with that. In fact, it had given her exactly what she wanted at 30. Financial predictability, professional respect, a life free from constant uncertainty. But at 36, the equation looked slightly different. She opened her financial projections that evening and examined the next 10 years of expected income if she remained in her current position. The curve was smooth, comfortable, predictable. Then she compared it to other sectors in the industry, firms experimenting with new technologies, companies expanding internationally, smaller organizations willing to accept higher volatility. Their charts looked uneven. Some dipped sharply before rising again. Some rose dramatically. Some collapsed. But one thing stood out immediately. Their ceilings were higher. The trade-off became obvious. Her career path had minimized downside. It had also limited upside. For years, she believed the smartest professional decision was the one that removed the most uncertainty. Now she began to see another possibility. Sometimes uncertainty is the price of acceleration. Her job protected her from sudden losses. It also protected her from sudden leaps. Neither outcome was guaranteed, but only one of them was even possible inside the structure she had chosen. She closed her laptop and sat quietly in her living room. The apartment around her represented everything that decision had created: comfort, order, stability. She did not regret choosing it, but she began to recognize the invisible trade-off inside that choice. The life she had built was extremely good at preserving itself. The question she had never asked was whether preservation was still the goal. Because if stability becomes too successful at protecting what you have, it can quietly reduce the number of directions your future can still move. She had spent years making careful decisions designed to remove uncertainty. Now she was starting to wonder whether uncertainty had another role she had underestimated. Not as a threat, but as the mechanism that keeps her life expanding. For the first time in a long while, the safest path in front of her looked clear, and that clarity made her curious about something else. What might exist just beyond the edge of it?